how do you think we could, as realtors and appraisers, how do you bridge that gap? I mean, how do you prevent that from happening? I mean, because we're trying to get stuff done in a time frame, and contractors are, if we're trying to get these things fixed. And I mean, I guess the first thing is we as realtors need to understand what the guidelines are for FHA and VA and conventional and all that stuff. That would be the first thing, right? So get with somebody like Dan who does mortgage 101 classes, or, start asking questions, talk to an appraiser, call up a Debbie or a Dan Washburn and ask questions before all this stuff happens. Educate yourself as a real estate broker, right?
That's my biggest pet peeve, I think, is the lack of education. Or if you are unsure, call your favorite lender, call your favorite appraiser. May not be us. I don't care. I've had so many realtors over the years call me and say, hey, will this finance, or will this happen? Will this pass? Or they'll even send me pictures.
Yeah.
No problem. Houses in town, I've actually gone to a house prior to the appraisal and said, this has to be fixed, this has to be fixed, this has to be fixed.
And a lender who wants to develop a relationship will be willing to do that as well.
Yeah.
Going out to the property and saying, okay, this is going to be an issue, fix this, do this. But I mean, the appraiser is probably the best way to do that. That if the seller's willing to take care of the repairs, why not do the appraisal, have that detailed punch list that we know we're going to get from that appraisal, and then reverse engineer and say, okay, here's exactly what we need to get to be completed in this home, so we can move forward and close the transaction.
It's a great call.
The other thing on that is if the realtors would actually follow through to make sure the repairs got done, I'd say probably 20% of the time I got to do a final and the repairs didn't get done, or they missed one or two.
Missed one.
Yeah. And that's very frustrating when we're told it's done. The realtor says it's done. Did you go out there and look? No.
And that's another thing, too. In our reports, there's pictures and detail of what needs to be repaired, what we're calling out. And I know a lot of lenders don't send those photos to the realtors. And so they, we say there's paint missing, and then we've got 5 pictures of paint missing off the eaves and bar drafters and whatever. And they said, oh, we only knew about the eaves.
Yeah.
So,
but you guys do that, but not all appraisers do. So keep that in mind. They'll just say, and they, I'm not sure what the intent is of calling something out and not photographing it specifically.
Probably laziness.
I think it's, I don't think it's
laziness
or an additional 442 fee.
Yeah. Well, what I think it does is allow them, if they missed anything when they're doing that walk around, to go, oh, this as well. I think it allows them an out, right? If they miss something. But I would rather know the sandbox that I'm playing in and know my boundaries. And so I appreciate it. But just keep in mind that not every appraiser does that. They don't take a picture of everything. And you're wondering, hey, there's sagging around a window. Okay, well, there's 19 windows on this property. What do you mean? Am I going to have to go and be a super spy to try to figure it out?
Well, if it's an FHA, which is, of course, when we have most of the repairs, if it's FHA, we are actually supposed to put living room window, the bar drafter above the common bath wall. We're supposed to put very specific details as to where that repair item is. And, I'll get somebody else's 442 when the appraiser's on vacation, and they'll say, fix the peeling paint. Okay, where? And so I usually have to have the realtor meet me out there and say, do you know where they painted? And then there is that downside, like you were saying, I think they're being pretty vague, because I've walked around and went, oh, nuts. There's some peeling paint. There's some peeling paint. They didn't do all this, but they weren't told to, because they just focused on the one corner. And that makes it hard.
Or whatever they thought needed to be done or completed.
Yeah.
And speaking of FHA and final inspections, it has to be the whole property. FHA isn't just wanting the value on the house or the repairs done on the house, or so many times that we even get phone calls,
It's a
Do you
shed.
mean the chicken coop?
Yes,
Yes,
the pump
or-
house.
Yeah.
or even the
fence.
The fence, yes. I mean, to me, that's like, ugh. But I mean, that's the guideline. We got to call it out.
Yeah, understood.
Yeah, so if you've got peeling paint on a shed or a pump house or a garage,
barn.
it has to meet FHA guidelines. They want the whole property to meet their guidelines, not just the house. And we get that call pretty regularly.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know the shed had to meet their guidelines.